Hi, I'm Jason J. Campbell, and thanks for visiting my blog. In today's blog, I decided to do a video response, a vlog, to the last article that I published, which was entitled American Arrogance. And I got a lot of feedback, surprisingly, from the article that was written. I got a lot of positive, I got a few negative, but more positive than not. And I just wanted to take the time to respond to some of the questions and some of the comments that I received, just to make your experience a little bit more personal. Also, it really struck me that it struck such a nerve, my discussion of the Burger King Corporation. I really didn't think I'd get the response that I got in discussing my problem with the advertisement campaign. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, right below this heading will be the last blog posting that I made, which was on American. And in there I have a link to the video. You can watch the video for yourself. It'll put my discussion and my comments in context. So with that being said, I just want to spend a few minutes and respond personally to some of the questions that I have. Feel free to have the questions come in. I'll be glad to respond. So first of all, you have to forgive me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Gujari from India writes, is it possible for anyone to completely understand another culture? So Gujari from India writes, is it possible for anyone to completely understand another culture? Gujari, that was a great question, and I thought about it for a while. And myself, I think I have, and I try to pride myself in having a very high tolerance for difference, for things that I'm not accustomed to. And I would hope that after all these years of research and all these years of interacting with a diversity of people in college life, that I would be able to have an understanding, a complete understanding of another culture. However, I don't think that you can have a full appreciation or understanding of another culture from merely reading it in books, right? You can't say, well, you know, I read about India and I have a couple of Indian friends, and therefore I have an understanding of Indian culture. I think this would be a huge mistake. I think the only true way of having an understanding and a total understanding of another culture is through cultural immersion. You as the investigator have to immerse yourself in the culture. So if I wanted to truly understand Indian culture or Caribbean culture or Hispanic culture, I would have to actually participate as an everyday citizen in the culture to understand truly what that culture is. And I think after a few years, I'm not really sure about how long it would take. Some people are quicker learners than others. You could have a genuine appreciation and understanding of a culture. I do not believe, however, that you can gain this knowledge based on books. I believe that you have to actually experience it. You have to live and surround yourself with the people to truly understand and appreciate what their culture represents. So, Gurjari, thank you very much for your question. I appreciate it. Hopefully my response was adequate. Next question. Tim from Maryland writes, not all Americans are arrogant, Jason, and there are like 3 exclamation points. What does that even mean? Tim, my article wasn't intended to offend, right? I'm not like a shock writer. That's not my style. I'm not in this for shock value. What I want to do is I want to wake up average folks like you and me and everyone else in America who take so many things for granted, the privileges that we have for granted, and allow us, all of us, including myself on a daily basis, to come to recognize the privilege that we have. Because insofar as we can recognize our privileges, then we can at least appreciate the struggle, the concerns, and that sometimes the desperation of other people and other cultures. So it's not the case that I'm anti-American, or I hate all Americans, or I feel that as Americans we are just a society of arrogant people. No, I believe that we have possibly we have a perception, a global perception outside of America as being arrogant people. Now, granted, this has changed. I forget who wrote me. It might be in the quotes, but someone wrote me in the quotes or in an email. They said, well, Jason, it's getting better because of the president we have. And, that's great. I'm glad that Barack Obama has reassured people, and the person was, I think, from Greece. It might be in my comments. Said that he reassured non-American citizens that, here, look, we are humble people. But the whole point of drawing attention to this, especially in the Burger King ad campaign, which I thought was deplorable, is to say that we have to have a certain sense of humility, right, when we approach people from a different culture. Because the things that we take for granted, like, and I wrote this in an article, walking down to the kin, getting yourself a glass of water in the middle of the night and going back to bed, something that you might not think about. Someone else has to plan their entire day around fetching water, right? Bell Hooks just came to the University of South Florida where I'm completing my education, and she made a really profound statement, something to the effect of, at any moment, at any time of the day, there is probably a woman somewhere in the world walking to fetch water. And that's a huge claim, right? Some people are walking 5, 10, 15 miles to get water to provide for their family, something which we take for granted. So it's not that Americans are inherently arrogant. I don't think that Americans feel that they're better, as we as Americans feel that we're any better than anyone else. I think what happens is that we become desensitized to the privileges that we have, and it takes sometimes someone to jar us to let us know, hey, remember all the privileges that we have as Americans, so that when we meet someone who isn't American, or we travel to a country outside of the States, that we engage and we participate with those individuals with a certain level of tact. So Tim, my intention was not to offend, and my intention is also not to be controversial in any sense. I understand that things that I write might jar people's thoughts and have discussion, and that's what I want. More than anything, I just want to create the framework with which we can describe and discuss our experiences.